Hoo-wee! This was a banger. What a way for Europe to start. Yeah! Grant, I've got some nitpicks here and there, of course. Hey, it's Vision Denial. This is the Road to MSI. My name is Sebastian. We're going to be covering today Europe's first playoff game. And what a game to work with. Now, we got I always do this. I gotta forget that this is not a mirrored thing. We got FNatic versus SK. FNatic gets the 3-1 to this. It very likely could have been 3-0 if it wasn't for the direction that the second game went. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. A couple of thoughts on this. The pick and ban is rather lackluster on the side of SK. Granted, they're the ones that were eliminated. There's only so much you can do with that. And it shows, honestly. Not only was their pick and ban lackluster, it was very uncreative. They had some interesting takes on the ways to work around FNatic's different compositions. And they are very reactive. Everything about the way that SK plays is reactive. Now, they're very good reactions, but they're still just reactive. When you have a cat and you just start recording. Reactive. Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, I don't know why there was, like, no gumption, no will or want to do anything out of SK. They just kept getting, like, taking it and taking it. And granted, this was the best team that I've seen so far out of now 10 teams that I've watched play. 10 teams? Are we at 10 teams, really? 2, 4, 6... Yeah, we're at 10 teams. Out of the 10 teams so far, this is the best team at reacting to mistakes and punishing them. And when they do punish, they punish very well. And honestly, hats off to them because they pull off a crazy comeback in the second game. That being said, they only play off of Vision Denial, but Vision Denial in a way that, like, it doesn't accomplish anything. So it's always reactive to the vision that FNatic's playing off of. They play off of some bizarre choices that just lead me to think that, like, SK, even if they did manage a bunch of comebacks, would have not done well further down the line regardless. I would give them a C if I was to give them a grade, because they had very uncreative drafting, mostly reactionary. They had okay vision denial, but again, it was just on reaction. Their vision control was lackluster. Their execution on a lot of stuff was lackluster, unless it was just a punish. They knew how to punish things very well. So, what about FNatic? Well, FNatic is consistently trying to, like, improve and reiterate on all of their pick and bans every time. Super satisfied out of that. I'm honestly very happy with the way that they, even if they lost game 2, game 1, they do this whole bit where they make it look like they're going to keep, here's my notebook, where they're going to keep going with the same bans and then instead ban one of their own picks to steal away their opponents. And they do this on a regular basis where the types of pick and bans that they approach for are mostly to play off a different type of approach until you get to game 4. In which case, if I remember correctly, game 4... Yeah, game 4 they ended up with virtually the same composition. And that was a little disappointing. But, kudos to SK for trying to play up something. They almost won game 4. Like, says more about the way the FNatic did their mistakes. I don't think they're very good at executing their compositions. And not because they have a lack of planning. They have solid vision control. I don't think I've ever seen a team so far out of the 10 that was so absolutely... Well, cat. Yes, so the vision control is absolutely dominant throughout this entire thing. And it trickled down into everything else they were able to pull off. They had excellent Drake control. They had the vast majority of all the Drakes. That's not always the case with winning teams. Sometimes they'll give up a good amount of Drakes and they'll have like an equal distribution. FNatic was not the case. They had, I think, the vast majority of Heralds. They appropriately were able to juggle through minion waves to like apply the proper pressure, and honestly was just pleasantly impressed with a lot of the different things that were going through FNatic's approach to the game, including when they had Baron. They had like a solid grasp of their 1-4 style of like juggling through each of the lanes to get the most out of their Baron buff. Even if their composition sometimes would have benefited more from a 1-3-1, they still, regardless, kept the 1-4 because they had a very solid understanding of how that worked. Which leads to the sour taste in my mouth of FNatic engaging in such a wild and reckless manner so many times. Like, did they know that engaging that way was not a good idea? Did they clearly had the vision set up. They did the preparations for things. Their neutral objective setups were really good. They picked in ways and knew exactly when fights and power spikes were happening. There was like a lot about the ways that FNatic set up their fights that said, hey, they're definitely going to win. Heck, sometimes their coordination was there, but SK was not only the better team fighter, even when SK was behind 10k in their second game, but FNatic ended up just throwing away a lot of their leads with some really weird positional mistakes or really weird engage opportunities, or like just the like small like incremental misplays that just compounded into FNatic like taking a perfectly good setup and then just losing it, just squandering it. It's really unfortunate because, quite honestly, if everything else other than the way that they executed their team fights or they engaged was still there and then they improved on that, this is a very solid team. But it doesn't matter if you do almost all of the other steps right. If you keep losing team fights and throwing away your stuff, like, how are you to... Why? This was not, like, granted, these are very hyped games. These were very fun to watch. It was like, chef kiss European League of Legends, right? And it's kind of team fighty. It would feel like it's from China, but at the same time, it's got that like sprinkling of nonsense going around in their team fights. But everything else is just good, just good. And just their team fights are just kind of whack-a-mole. I wouldn't put Fnatic above any of the North American teams currently, other than 100 Thieves. Like, if I was to say, if Fnatic was to face any of the North American teams that are, like, still in the upper bracket, I'd say, like, you could toss up who would win between the two. Primarily because I'm not confident in the way that they team fight. Like, regardless of how they do the setup, what they showed is that it's not as good. Hold on. Now, that being said, Fnatic is very good at punishing mistakes also. I don't know if it's a stylistic difference between the regions, but, like, Fnatic was much more aggressive. This is the most aggressive team out of the 10. They had tempo control every time, like, all the time until, like, the very end of Game 2, where they had lost the Baron and they were losing from that. And I want to see that more from other teams. Like, going forward, we have tomorrow, because today's the 26th, filming this at the end of the day. We got Latin America and Brazil playing, as well as Australia, I believe, starting up soon. And so, like, I'm hoping that we're going to get more aggressive team play. And honestly, I love that there's, like, this aggressive mentality that goes on, but sometimes you got to rein it in a little bit. Like, you have to be measured in the way that you're aggressive. I like to see it because the other teams so far that I've played are very reserved, very patient, and sometimes to their detriment. And I think that, like, if it was Fnatic going up against any of the 9 other teams, because of the fact that Fnatic are more aggressive, that the only thing that would be their hubris is if they were being punished well enough. And I guess some of the North American teams have done that, but have done that kind of stuff. But knowing that Korea's got, like, DK going off really strong, knowing that, like, most of the Chinese league is super aggressive most of the time, knowing that, like, the Vietnamese and Pacific regions have, like, their variety of, like, hyper, like, tempo controlled games, this is not going to be the last of it. And so my immediate thought is, cool, Fnatic is aggressive, but if I am being honest, they need to be much more measured about how they're aggressive. They need to be thoughtful about the way that they engage into these particular fights. And they need to, I don't know, clean it up a little bit. Because, like, it doesn't matter if you are a cut above in the aggressive department to your league. If you don't polish it up, the international scene is going to chew you out and punish you more often, regardless if they're aggressive or not. And yeah, I give the edges usually to the team with the tempo control, but the team that is easily able to punish you is usually going to be able to get more out of your badly executed aggressiveness. You lost game 2 that way. You almost lost game 4 that way. Honestly, I could have been singing the, like, sour tunes of SK's going on and going, they're probably not going to make it further to the next round. But if Fnatic clean up their stuff, they could go further. Granted, these are the 6th and 5th seed of Europe. So this is the bottom of the barrel. And if this is the bottom of the barrel compared to the top of the barrel for North America, doesn't look very good for North America. Granted, Japan, I don't expect to do very well against any of these other regions. But, like, out of the top 4 regions, top 6 if we're really going to go about it, because there's literally a top half and a bottom half of the regions. Out of the top 6 regions, I don't think North America is going to look very good if this is literally the bottom of the barrel of Europe. I mean, yeah, I'm getting there already. And the other 4 regions in the top 6 regions have yet to start. There's like 6 days before they start, minimum. Something's going to happen where you guys are going to have to improve. Because nothing about these 10 teams so far show me that they're any good for the international scene so far. That's real unfortunate. If I was to give a grade for FNatic, I'd give them a B-. If I'm going to be impressed with any of these teams, I need to see an A. We'll probably see one. Probably later in the weekend when Europe has their 4 other teams play. We'll probably see another A. We'll probably see one also when Korea and LPL, as well as like Pacific and Vietnam, get their teams going. Hey, maybe, you know what? Maybe the North American teams will surprise me. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. And we appreciate that you're watching. Have a wonderful day.